The Avengers has been unleashed, smashing box office records, uniting geeks all around the world, and kicking off the summer movie season to a really promising start. And my inbox is literally just flooded with requests for me to review the movie, so I thought I would weigh in with my 2 cents. If you have not seen the movie, if there are actually people who haven't seen it, then please be aware that there will be spoilers in this review. So, how do I put this? The movie just sucked. It was horrible. No, I'm just kidding. It was really great in my opinion. I enjoyed it immensely. As this huge comic book crossover epic, it really delivers in exactly what it's intending to do, and that's to create a big action blockbuster that brings together Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Thor, Captain America, and of course Nick Fury, all in the same movie. I'm hesitant to say that this is a novelty movie. I mean, yes, it kind of is, but all of these heroes just aren't there for the sake of being there. I thought the way they brought them together was good and convincing. You can call it contrived if you want, you can call it just a novelty, and you can call it cheesy, but damn, having all these characters together in one movie, and seeing them interact, seeing them conflict and mistrust, and of course, naturally, band together finally, it was just done in the best possible way they could do a movie like this. Joss Whedon isn't reinventing the wheel in terms of plot here, but the way he handled such an ambitious, large-scale, truly landmark task is commendable. All the gears of the machine run smoothly, and the result is impressive as all hell, and at the end of the day, this really is one of the best comic book movies out there, and for my money, probably one of the closest translations of the experience of reading through a comic book series. You could point out so many movies, comic book movies in particular, that just unsuccessfully juggled far too many characters and plot lines and become mind-bogglingly convoluted and messy, and that's just staying within the confines of their own universe. But here with the Avengers, they're juggling several different characters and plot elements and universes, and it proves that it can indeed be done if done right. Again, it's not an overly complex storyline. It's fairly straightforward, and thankfully so, because it opens up a playground to let the characters shine. Some characters, of course, have the advantage of being introduced to us in their own movies, some not so lucky to have that. But I thought every character was well fleshed out, and we got a good idea of who they were and their personalities and what they were fighting for. And probably most importantly, each character had their fair share of screen time. Every single character had their great moments. I don't think they were playing favorites here. Anyone who does have a favorite character could probably argue that they were done a good amount of justice in the movie. Tony Stark was great to see, now in his third Marvel movie, providing great action as Iron Man and spouting out one-liners like a possessed pop culture demon, and they even worked in a nice little arc about him learning about self-sacrifice and putting others before him, which was nice. I liked it. Captain America, still fresh off of ice from the last movie, had great and often funny moments of adapting to the modern world, and I liked how, out of the group, he stood up as the leader figure. The Hulk, probably the fan favorite of the pack, from all the reactions I've heard, was just awesome. Mark Ruffalo proved to be an excellent Bruce Banner, and actually probably the best we've seen so far. And what's interesting is that when in Hulk form, it actually kind of looks like him, so that was cool. And damn it, in the last act, he really has all the standout moments. He does some damn good smashing, I'll say that much. Black Widow's character is a lot more fleshed out here than she was in Iron Man 2. We get to know some of her backstory, which was interesting, and I liked how this was all accomplished purely through dialogue. Not a collection of cheesy flashbacks or anything, which would be so cheap, and I'm glad they didn't go that route. And yes, she kicks a large amount of ass, too. And that tight outfit, oh man. And Thor, I don't know. I'm not sure why, but I guess it never really occurred to me how much I really like Thor. Because like 30 minutes in, I found myself thinking, hey, where the hell is Thor? He makes the latest appearance in the movie out of the group, and when he arrives, it's with full hammer swinging, and it's very satisfying. If you felt shortchanged by the fact that for at least like 75% of his last movie he didn't even have his hammer, then it more than makes up for it here. There's some cool hammer action. And I thought the scenes with Loki, the villain, and his brother were very good. When you saw Thor's conflict and guilt and despair over the fact that his brother was responsible for all this destruction, it's really convincing, and it's surprisingly moving. At least I thought it was. Probably the most thankless role here is Hawkeye, because the poor guy, he doesn't have his own movie. He had, what, a 2-minute cameo in Thor, and that was it. And for the first 2/3 of this movie, he's basically evil. He's brainwashed and doing the villain's bidding, and that just sucks. That sucks for him, and for us. We want to like Hawkeye, right? And I think it's true that a lot of what can be done for a character is done in the casting, and they made a good choice putting Jeremy Renner in the role. He has this heroic aura about him, I think, and so for the whole movie we know he's capable of good, and we know from Black Widow's past experiences with him that she talks about that he's important to the group. So when he finally does become good again, it's a major relief, and in the climax of the movie he really redeems himself by laying down some major bow and arrow badassness. He sure puts that Hunger Games girl to shame. Then there's the unsung heroes, the ones not so much in the trenches, and really the glue that holds everything together, S.H.I.E.L.D. We have Nick Fury back. This time it's definitely not some surprise cameo. It's a full, important role. And I liked how they were able to ground the amazing action scenes with scenes of showing this guy who has to sit back and deal with all the bureaucracy of his superiors, always threatening to make a larger mess of things, and always second-guessing him. It's a shitty job, but somebody has to do it, so good thing we have Nick Fury. Kobe Smulders is a new addition to the group, playing Agent Maria Hill. She definitely has some inclusion with the action, but she doesn't do that much. She sure looks good, though, and I suspect that should there be another Avengers film, and given the fact that the movie has already made, I don't know, $1 gajillion worldwide, I'm willing to bet there will be, and she'll probably have a lot more to do. And then, of course, there's Agent Coulson. Even before we had any idea Nick Fury was around, there was Agent Coulson, and since the very beginning with Iron Man, and I get a little emotional talking about it, I'm sorry. He was great. That fucker Loki, man, capped his ass in cold blood. He shouldn't have gone down like that. He was a great man. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little too far into this movie because I'm starting to talk like these characters are real actual people, so I'll just move on. But Agent Coulson was great, and I'll be damned if his role wasn't equally as important as any of the other heroes were. Then there's the villain, Loki. He's pretty much the same kind of character he was in Thor, except this time with higher ambitions. He's a schemer, he has delusions of grandeur, as most villains do, and I guess you could say he's more of a chess guy than a checkers guy. He poses more of a psychological threat more than anything else. I'd be lying if I said he was among the best comic book villains ever. He's really not, and let's face it, he's more of an end of stage 1 kind of boss, am I right? But that's just another thing I think the movie chose wisely in doing. If they chose to have some hardcore, amazing, badass, super threatening villain that tears the heroes apart to the point of absolute desperation, it would just be too much, and they've left them with more room to grow with the villains, and they started off modestly, so in that respect I thought Loki was a good choice for the bad guy. And it's not like he doesn't give them a challenge at all, he definitely does, but at the end of the day, he's just a schmuck who deserves a good beatdown, and believe me, he gets what's coming to him. And I have to say, it's sort of refreshing for a change that the heroes are given more focus and made to be more interesting characters. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for intriguing villains, but it should never be at the cost of the heroes. And the action in the movie. Damn, what amazing, amazing action, seriously. You can point out any one action sequence in this movie, and for my money, it's more entertaining and not to mention more coherent than anything the likes of Michael Bay could hope to aspire to direct in his wildest dreams. The last act alone, which is just wall-to-wall action and excitement, is extremely well done and glorious to behold. Really great work with the action. Even if someone hates these comic book movies or has no idea what a Thor or a Hulk is, I'd recommend seeing it based just on the action alone. The Avengers is a great comic book movie. If I have to be blunt, I'll admit that any given day of the week, if given a choice between this and a Christopher Nolan Batman film to watch, yeah, I'm going with Batman, no contest. I do like a little more substance, and in general, none of these guys combined have anything on Batman, but that's just me. The thing is, though, that the Avengers is not trying to be high art or anything, so it'd be horribly unfair to judge it on what it's not instead of what it is. And what it is an exceptional, awe-inspiring, fucking awesome piece of escapist entertainment. And the comic book film genre, if you can call it a genre, has many different leagues and different approaches to their respective source materials, and if you want a movie that stays true to material in terms of story, and in terms of the values held dear by the material, good versus evil, teamwork, striving for the greater good, and doing what's right, very, very basic but very, very important and true stuff, all done in a fantastical and adventurous and overall fun way, then I can tell you without batting an eye that The Avengers is a masterpiece.